What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm doing a TV pilot review. This is Grosse Pointe Garden Society. This is a new Peacock series. It's following Suits LA, or Suits La, which I reviewed yesterday. And nah, now I'm doing Grosse Pointe Garden Society. So click like and subscribe. I'm a blind film critic, and my little plug here is that diversity, inclusivity, and equity they're not bad words. I benefit heavily from at least the inclusivity part of that. Those are generally the programs that lead to audio description and accessibility for blind and low vision people. People like me, the kind of people that I need to interface with to try to expand audio description, which is why I'm here. If you heard blind film critic at the beginning of that and you're like, what? Oh my God, man, that's dope. Let's see what happens in this. Oh my God, this guy says he's blind and he watches TV. How does he watch TV? Well, there's this thing called audio description that runs as a secondary audio track, and allowed me to better understand the society of Grosse Pointe and their gardens. So this stars Melissa Fumero, Nicole R.E. Parker, Anna Sophia Robb, Nancy Travis, Matthew Davis. There are a bunch of familiar names in here that I recognized. And it's got a Good Girls vibe to it. That's what I would say. This feels like Good Girls. And I'm glad that NBC is going down this path, because Grosse Pointe Garden Society is a show that is unmatched right now on network television, which is great. Like, thank you for doing something outside the box. Thank you for coloring outside the lines. Thank you for providing a show that isn't like a crime procedural. It's not detectives working with somebody who's smart. Like, we have a lot of smart lady shows right now. We have Matlock, Elizabeth, and High Potential. We have The Smart Dude with Will Trent. We have... I feel like Tracker is some form of very similar. Even The Awful Watson sort of feels like this same sort of thing that we have, where it's like smart people who are really good at what they're doing or solving things. Ooh. And then you have your typical crime procedurals, the FBI universe and the NCIA universe, and Law and Order, the One Chicagos, the Rookies. You have all that stuff. All feels like they're like sort of in the same genre. There's nothing like this on network television. There is on like streaming, but there's nothing like this on network television right now, which is one of the things that made Good Girls great to begin with. It was one of the things that made Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist when NBC took a swing on that. You gotta take swings every once in a while. And those shows find fans. The shows that I just listed had fans. Fans that were devoted to the series. They weren't widely acclaimed, which makes me a little bit worried for Grosse Pointe Garden Society and its longevity, because these are not shows that run for long periods of time, but maybe they should. Maybe we should get 3 or 4 seasons out of these shows. So it's a little community, and we are introduced to these different characters. Melissa Fumero is sort of anchoring the show. You see the other characters and their different quirks and their different personalities, and how the ladies, and there's one guy who is part of the Garden Society, and they also, interestingly enough, didn't make him gay, which, you feel like you're going to watch a series with a bunch of girls and a gay guy in a garden society, and no, he's a guy who just is a landscaper who got screwed over by his ex-wife. So I guess he can mix it with the ladies, like, it's just here. He doesn't hook up with anybody inherently in the pilot, but he could, in the future. They just threw him in there. So bucking the trend, I guess, of what would be expected for when you have, what is... I think there's at least one of the characters, I believe it's Anna Sophia Robb's character, who seems to believe that garden societies are more, they're more of a social club than an actual like gardening thing. But no, these ladies are here to actual garden. Like these ladies actually really think about their flowers. The whole opening sequence is the beginning of the series when they're introducing characters and they're comparing each character to a specific flower and telling you why that character is like that flower. I really like that. I thought it was an interesting way to introduce characters, like a dandelion. They're like a daisy or what, like, um, it was cute. It was an interesting way. It was memorable. It was fun. The audio description on the show is better than I thought it would be. The character descriptions are pretty good. It's a diverse cast, and the diversity represented in the audio description. So that was unexpected. I was pretty impressed with the show overall. Like, I like the show. I like the audio description for it. It's not the most audio description you'll get because there is a fair amount of dialogue. There's a lot of talking here, and there's a little bit of narration coming from sort of the main character as she moves through, sort of like in a Desperate Housewives type of thing, but the character who's narrating is not dead for the duration of the show. Sorry if that spoiled Desperate Housewives for you, but the character that's narrating Desperate Housewives dies in like the first 10 seconds of the pilot. I think at least the first minute of the pilot. So, yeah, I hope that's not I wouldn't consider that a spoiler, but anyway, also the show is like 20 years old. So, anyway, I think, yes, I think this is worth watching. Where does it go? I mean, there are some things that on the other end that I wouldn't have done in a pilot that I would have spaced out over later episodes. I don't think I would have put it in the pilot. I don't. So, not to spoil, but the reason why I compared it to Good Girls is because there is sort of like a murder that takes place, but you don't know who's murdered, but you do know who's not murdered. It does show you a collection of the cast that's not murdered, and I don't think I would have shown you more than one character. Just to keep things interesting, I probably would have left it at just Melissa Fumero because she's sort of the lead who's also narrating. So I think it's safe to say that she's not, if you want her to be the central character and you want to show somebody in that sequence, and then you can expand it in later episodes by adding other characters and saying, oh, that character's safe. Oh, that character's safe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would have been the way that I would have gone. So I think it reveals too much of its hand in the pilot that it didn't need to, because inherently the fact that they're burying a body, that these lovely ladies of this garden society are burying a body, that's enough of a twist in and of itself. And even showing one person, because you didn't even need to show a person burying the body, you could have left it a whole mystery that will slowly be revealed as, okay, so who's the body? Oh, well, that was the person who had the shovel in the pilot that we didn't get to see. We just saw their shoes. There's a really solid focus on shoes, by the way, that would have led to, alluded to something. The Anna Sophia Robb, I think it's her character anyway, when she comes into the Garden Society, she's not appropriately dressed for it, and she's wearing Louboutins, and I think Melissa Fumero's character is like, you might want to wear some old shoes next time or something like that. She's like, these are old. These are the old Louboutins or something like that. She makes some joke like she has multiple pairs. So because they bring attention to the shoes, and then also in the audio description of the body they're burying, the only thing you see are shoes, which are not Louboutins. So I thought that would be an interesting contrast. There's a better way to handle that. That's my biggest problem with this series is I think it's a great pilot because it tells you who the cast is. It gives you sort of an idea of what to expect in terms of theme, in terms of tone. These characters, it seems to manage its time pretty well so that it feels like an ensemble, even though there is somebody who might have 2% more to do than everybody else. It still feels like a show that is driven by ensemble, and that we're going to bounce around between these characters. So I would have left it a little bit more open at the end with that, but it's a really strong pilot. This is a show that knows what it wants to be, whereas Suits Law has no idea what it wants to be. It has no idea why it's even there. It's like, we put Suits in the title. We've seen this work for NCIS and FBI. We're assuming we're allowed to do this with Suits. That we just keep branding things, and you show up because it's branded Suits. Yeah, that's basically what Suits LA is doing. It's just like, did we need a plot? I'm sorry, did we need a reason to exist? I didn't realize we needed to. But this actually gives you plot and reason and story and characters and themes and all the things a pilot is supposed to give you. So it tips a little bit of its hat a little bit too much at the end. So I'm going to give Grosse Pointe Garden Society an A-. I think it's a really strong pilot. Now, will it end up being a really strong series? That's to be determined. But I said this is a pilot review. And I think too often critics, now that they can get access to a whole series, or like deep episodes, it changes your opinion of a series. But a pilot has to work. A pilot has to tell you, what is the show? Is it interesting? Is it good? Who are these characters? Like, there's a whole set of things that makes you come back for a second episode. And I think some shows forget that nowadays because we don't have pilot season. Because pilot season has dramatically reduced. And I think it's important to point out when pilots are still good, when pilots work, when that first episode still does what a first episode is supposed to do. And that happened here. So I'm happy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Remember, inclusivity is not a bad word. And I'll see you guys on the other side.